anyways, that was transfer window grades. I think it's certainly time to move on to maybe the most significant portion of this podcast today, which is our sort of Premier League supporters handbook for anyone getting into the Premier League. We had an incredible European Championship competition this past summer, and there were tons of new Premier League supporters coming into the fold, or just supporters of the European game looking for a club to support. I think the Premier League is definitely the most accessible club for Americans. Obviously it's all being sort of run in English, a lot of coverage in the States. Obviously, La Liga is now in the US as well with ESPN, but we're all Prem supporters. That's kind of why we're all here together. And so I think this will be hopefully a useful handbook for those looking for a club to latch on to. And we've sort of organized this. Paul's organized this for us geographically. We got our northwest squads, our Midland squads, our London squads, and our southern squads. And I think we're gonna start up north. Sorry, we got a couple of people trying to hop on the pod here.
Rabid fans.
This is sorry. You had to buy tickets to get into this event. Thank you very much. We will be signing autographs after the recording.
We're signing leftover pictures of Guilty Sigurdsson if you want to stick around.
I'm signing headshots of Nico Bilbao here in Dublin. But yeah, I think we're gonna start up in the north and right near that Scottish English border with Newcastle. So we did a random number generator as well to decide which clubs we were all gonna sort of take to lay out in this guidebook, and we each got 4 clubs. They're all extremely random. None of them are the clubs that we support, so we're pretty unbiased here in our write-ups. And yeah, we're gonna start up way in the north, up in Newcastle, on that Scottish English border, and I believe that I have Newcastle. So I just want to talk a bit about this lovely side. I'm not going to lie, though, Newcastle, it's not exactly carrying a lot of momentum at the time being. There's sort of a constant selection for preseason relegation shouts, meaning they might be going down at any point here. They did come back up to the Premier League just a few years ago. They've been sort of floundering in Premier League okayness for most of the span of our Premier League fandoms, but most English supporters are much more used to an exciting Newcastle side. As for a great portion of the 90s, early 2000s, they had a quick attacking side that included the likes of Alan Shearer, Les Ferdinand. And while this Newcastle side currently has just a little bit of that attacking prowess all packed into one single player, the crazy, exciting, stylish Alan St. Maximin. They still have the same passionate fans, one of the greatest original parks in all of football at St. James's. Beautiful little park there along the river, and also some of the sexiest retro digs featuring that patented white and black, thick white and black striped kit with the brown Newcastle Ale logo. So yeah, great club to support if you want an awesome vintage jersey, if you want to go make a trip to a really cool English city with a really cool old stadium, and also if you want a literal shark as your manager. I think Steve Bruce is definitely a shark dressed into a human suit. Yeah, so you'd probably be the only club with one of those. Like, what? Who names their child Steve Bruce? That's literally a shark's name. That's actually 2 shark names packed into one human name. So yeah, I'll say Newcastle, good for all those things. Maybe not the most exciting football to support at the moment, but great kits, great stadium, great fans, some solid history. So yeah, that's Newcastle for you. And I did take the train down from Edinburgh to London recently. Went right through Newcastle. Beautiful city. Good to see the stadium on the train ride. If you support Newcastle, come visit me up in Edinburgh. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and you got an ex-Man United legend at the helm things can't go wrong.
Facts.
Next team down as we go from north to south through the greatest Britain is going to be Burnley. Burnley. Oh, love these guys. Burnley. So we like to call them Brexit FC. Burnley is the heart and soul of English football. Whether it be Sean Dyche pounding pints at the pub or Ben Mee putting in an absolute leg-breaking challenge, you will get nothing apart from steel from Burnley. This doesn't mean they're good, however. If you like staunch defending and big upsets, then Burnley might just be your team. Forget that I said upsets, though. Just defending. They might win a game every year.
It's like Big Ten football.
Yeah, exactly. Burnley, as I kind of mentioned, are not a fun team to watch at all. Like in any sense of the word, they're never the game you circle on the calendar. If you do think Burnley's an awesome team to support, go for it. I would, just from me to you, I would recommend not watching the games and then taking that time you save to kind of look inward and think about the decision you made to get to where you are. Despite this lack of overall quality, besides their awesome manager, they have some decent players. Nick Pope is their goalie, one of the keepers for England, and Dwight McNeil, kind of an attacking midfielder, kind of left mid, right mid, plays all over the place, has a wand of a left foot, and has been on Gabe's Christmas list, even though he knows he's not getting him. And then a little fun fact for you all you Burnley diehards out there. Burnley are one of the only 3 teams who have ever won all 4 divisions of professional English football. The other 2 being Wolves and Preston North End. So you can see some through and through champions of England if you go to Turf Moor.
Sweet. That's an awesome stat.
That's a great fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's me up next again. This is an interesting one for me. I'm not gonna lie, boys. Let me see where I put my little write up here. Yeah, so when I sort of made the random number generator, I kind of knew I was gonna end up with Liverpool. It's just the way this thing goes, way the cookie crumbles. But I'm not mad. I'm a team player, and while they might be my biggest rival as an Everton supporter, there's plenty to be said about arguably the most storied side in English football. It birthed literally out of the loins of the Everton Football Club in the 1890s after a dispute between board members. Liverpool has always lived in the shadow of the blue side of the city. Oh wait, sorry, that's wrong draft. Liverpool are undoubtedly an international powerhouse. 6 European championships, 7 FA Cups prove this, as well as 19 top flight league titles in England. However, until the 1920 season, sorry, not 1920, but like the 2019-2020 season, the Reds had gone 30 years without winning a top flight title, a stretch that spanned great players like Steven Gerrard, great managers, but it took an international cast of characters to lead them back to their current glory, including the lovable Mo Salah and unmistakably German Jurgen Klopp. If you're an American fan of a red team, cough, cough, the Boston Red Sox, this history probably hits incredibly close to home. And if you want to keep your allegiances as close to home, you actually not only share some history, but also some incredibly stingy owners known as Fenway Sports Group with those red colored socks. So congrats, you're fighting oil money with Big Poppy retro jersey sales. But in all seriousness, in soccer and in life, there are red team people and there are blue team people. I think that's a Men in Blazers thing. They always talk about that. And if you're a red team person, then Liverpool is a pretty solid choice for you. They're always on freaking TV in the States. They're probably going to snatch up one of the great young American talents soon enough. And they have a great international cast of characters. Just know that you're hopping on the back of one of the longest bandwagons of all time. Oh, and You'll Never Walk Alone is kind of overrated.
Boom. All right. And traveling only about 20 minutes towards the water. Is that correct? I believe that's correct.
Like a mile walk. Yeah, 20-minute walk.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everton, supported loyally by our favorite host, Gabe. Everton is oh so dear to his heart. And as is the case for most Everton fans, a true working man's club located in Liverpool, the Toffees have been there since the beginning. One of the first 12 founding members of the Prem in 1888. That's crazy to say. They've got the second longest continuous serving club in the Prem, meaning they've basically been here forever. And the history is there with the fourth most titles in the Prem to some surprise. But their last title trophy hoist came in 1987. And since you can basically bet your house that they'll finish between 6 and 10 and only go bankrupt about 25% of the time. So surely they are one of the more consistent sides out there. And what Everton has is a deep, deep sense of community. At times, that's all they've got, but it's really all they need. Pure pride, passion, dedication, and love. True love. Alan Ball, who was signed for Everton in 1966, famously said, once Everton has touched you, nothing will be the same. Once it gets a hold of you, you realize what it means to the supporters. People say football is a matter of life and death, but it really is here. Similarly, Dave Hickson once said, I've broken every bone in my body for any club I've played for, but I'd have died for Everton. Now I'm talking of them as if they're my great aunt and it's her funeral, but they're still quite alive and running around. Quite a fun group of lads. The headliner, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a striking young man and an impressive individual, is enough reason to support the Toffees in itself. Jordan Pickford, hero at the 2020 Euros, from which just happened this summer actually, and Richarlison, maybe the most unpredictable player in the league, is coming for Eric Lamella's throne of shithousery. And of course, Mr. Adler's favorite, Major Tom Davies. Enough said. What they've got, any club envies. And while there may not be as much glory at the famed Goodison Park as their hated rivals across the docks, the Toffees will never go down with at least biting one of your ears off.
I'm getting fired up over here. Ooh, I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
Up the Toffees.
A little, I think Leeds is due east of Liverpool. Am I right?
Correct. It's a little northeast.
Most things are east of Liverpool, I believe.
It is true. Leeds United, very historic club that has just recently found its way back to prominence. Leeds, kind of in a similar vein as Newcastle, they were founding members of the Prem as we know it back in the early 90s. They have a lot of rich history, but not long after they founded the Premier League, they eventually saw themselves relegated all the way down to League One, the third division of English football. They had a lot of serious financial troubles, but now they've made it back. Their manager, Marcelo Bielsa, is one of the most influential managers in history of footy. He's a very humble man. Even I was reading today that Pep Guardiola, often considered the best in the world, cited Bielsa as his biggest influence or something like that. So they've got a really interesting dynamic going. When Bielsa took over Leeds, it's a little bit more of a serious note. He had the players pick up trash at the training ground for 3 hours because that is how long the average Leeds supporter has to work to afford a ticket to one of their matches. So they're a very easy club to root for in character. I kind of liken them to the Buffalo Bills. Incredible fan base, very important place in the history of the game, but the last couple of decades have been rough. But now they're back. They had a good season last year. I don't think their supporters are the types to jump through folding tables in the parking lot, but alas, Leeds are still a nice club to support, and we're glad to see them in the Premier League again.
Not many supporters can boast that honor.
It's a rare breed.
Yeah,
no one
truly
circles
rare
the
breed.
wagons.
Like
No one circles the
Buffalo
wagons
and
like Leeds United.
Speaking of a supporter group that will certainly not jump through a table for their
Oh,
team.
come on.
We're gonna move on to the blue side of Manchester, in Manchester City. Currently, Manchester City boasts one of the best squads in Europe and has spent a whopping $1.13 billion on players since the arrival of manager Pep Guardiola. Pep is renowned as one of the best football brains of all time, kind of a student of Johan Cruyff, and has been using his brain and oil-stained wallet to dominate league play for years. While Man City have been great in the league, they also have yet to win the Champions League in the history of their club. This has kind of been that elusive prize that Pep is seeking, and it's a little questionable if they'll get it, but with their squad, anything should be possible. Man City doesn't have quite the illustrious history that some of these other clubs have. And only in the last 20, maybe 30 years have they been really gaining major popularity and success. Despite this, they do have a ton of club legends. To list a few: Yaya Toure, Vincent Kompany, Sergio Kun Aguero, Joe Hart, David Silva, and last but not least, the hydraulic fracturing gas drilling rig 9000 super rig. Okay, this drilling rig is top of the line, and I mean, it's done so much for City. All you got to do is put your hands up and just give it some credit. Okay. All being said, City is the perfect club for you if you love hopping on that bandwagon. I know one of my friends at home is a big City fan, and just coincidentally, he's also a fan that follows LeBron to every team he goes to. So that's a pretty good comparison if you're listening out there, Anjay. So if you love hopping on the bandwagon of success, City is the perfect club for you. And if you're also willing to ditch your club at the drop of a hat, the rich always get richer on the blue side of Manchester. There are some dusty Utes, I say without bias.
Glory, glory, Man United. Just kidding. I won't actually sing it, but glory, glory, Man United. Glory, glory, Man United. As the Reds go marching on. If there's one word to describe Manchester United, it's glory. One of the most storied clubs in the world, rich with history. The boisterous fans at the fortress that is Old Trafford have enjoyed more trophies than any other club in England. United are a club that like having big things, unafraid to splash the cash. They seek out the next big things, but they also go out and get the things that are already really, really, really big. To sum this up, here's a quick story. In 2003, the most legendary footy manager to ever grace this earth, Sir Alex Ferguson, sealed the transfer of 18-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo for a fee of £12.5 million, the highest fee ever for a teenager. Young Cristiano announced himself in a big way, belting free kicks of over 40 yards out into the back of the net, smashing just about every Premier League transfer and helping United win 3 consecutive Premier League titles and the Champions League in 2008. The following year, United sold Ronaldo to Real Madrid for a record fee, where he went on to become perhaps the most legendary footballer ever. And now 13 years later, a very legendary Cristiano has returned to the club where he made his name, capping off a transfer window that has seen several massive names come into the club. So yeah, United do like their big things. They love their stars, and anything but the best isn't good enough. Sir Alex turned them into the powerhouse that they are, winning 46 of their total 66 trophies. But since he announced his retirement in 2013, the club has gone through a bit of a rebuild, as the departure of such an icon left quite a void at the club. And since then, as just mentioned, their neighboring citizens got new ownerships, stole the spotlight, but United look poised to give them a run for their money this year with one of the strongest starting 11s you'll find in the world. And as much as Premier League fans hate their main man, Bruno Fernandes, as we talk about ever so often, they still boast arguably one of the most likable groups of players with young stars, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood, Jesse Lingard, Scott McSauce McTominay, and veteran stars Cavani, Ronaldo now, and Mr. Paul Pogba. So yeah, let's see if United can truly return to glory this new campaign.
Now we move to Midlands, yeah? Starting with Wolves. So Wolves' full name is Wolverhampton Wanderers FC, which is way too long, so everyone just calls them Wolves, which I will say is a pretty sweet mascot, and they do have the colors you really can never go wrong with, black and gold. So just aesthetically a quality club. We affectionately refer to them as Portugal FC. 9 of their first team players are from Portugal, the likes of Trincao, Moutinho, Ruben Neves, Raul, who is Mexican. They're all really, really nice players, tons of skill in their squad. Most famous, though, is Adama. We've talked about him so much on the pod. We're big fans. The muscle hamster of English footy. It is crazy to watch a man that is such a tank, looking like a running back, but have such deft skill on the field until he gets in front of goal. Then that melts all away. The team, because of their extreme lack of finishing, almost to a point of comedy, has not started off the year super well. But I think they'll turn it around. So Wolves is a fun team. Adama once claimed he has never lifted weights in his life, and his muscle mass is all natural. Just look him up and you can see how ridiculous that statement is, especially when he was a youth at Barca. The transformation and now is a bit suspect, but nonetheless, big fans of Wolves. Definitely a decent middling side to stick your claim in.
All organic, grass-fed HGH.
All natural.
All right. I guess next we'll head over to the city of Birmingham, and we're going to talk about the one and only Aston Villa. Modern day Premier League viewers might know them as home to arguably the sexiest man in the Premier League, Jack Grealish, or former home to arguably sexiest man in the Premier League, Jack Grealish. As Villa recently sold their star to Manchester City for a record fee in the Prem. I believe it was a record fee. But Villa is commonly referred to frat boys of the Prem. That image is slowly fading away as Starboy Jackie is gone, but they still boast our boy Meatball McGinn, John McGinn, the thickest man in the Prem, one of the bigger clowns of the Prem, one of the thickest. I don't know if I could say thickest. One of the thickest.
Definitely thicker than a bowl.
A couple cues in there. And a squad that is really starting to rebuild nicely after the sale of Jackie Boy for over 100 mil. Some of the new names that came in: Emi Buendia, exciting attacking mid from Norwich. Ashley Young coming back to his childhood club where he began his career after a storied career in Manchester and Milan. So really exciting stuff if you want to watch them. They also boast the most psychotic goalkeeper in the Prem right now. Clean sheet king Emmy Martinez, COVID king Emmy Martinez, a man who literally told the Colombian players that he would eat them in a penalty shootout. So if you like the energy, you like the frat boy vibe, you like the new faces coming in, Villa's your club.
John McGinn, thicker than a bowl of Weetabix.
Absolutely.
Villa, we like to party. Ow. Sliding over to Leicester City, dubbed the poster child for Cinderellas and underdogs and smaller clubs trying to play by the big boy rules. It too often gets swept under the rug as a club that is sort of a newcomer when they really do have some solid history. 5 FA Cup final appearances, a top flight second place finish all the way back in 1929. However, this club in 2021, it really is all about being given lemons and making a Michelin star restaurant out of it. Having only been in the 3rd tier of English football in 2009, Leicester's rise to the top flight and ultimately Premier League title glory in one of the most improbable runs in sports history in 2015-16 can be described as nothing except meteoric. If Leicester is the club you decide to support, you'll have a few really important things going for you. One, you'll have a beautiful new stadium to enhance already strong recruitment and strong fandom. 2, you'll have owners that really care, something that as super leagues have loomed large makes a world of difference. And 3, you'll have the greatest shit house in the league, Jamie Vardy. If you like chatting crap, winning with attitude, Vardy is as pure as they come. If you're into Cinderella stories, I truly encourage you to check out his unbelievable life story full of Red Bull and goals as well, and to watch the 34-year-old prance around the pitch like Ronaldo one weekend. I just can't wait for him to steal Ronnie's squeeze celebration as he bags a brace against United this year. Come on, you Foxes. Come on, you Vardys.
Sweet.
I would definitely back Leicester if I could start it all over.
You do it all over again. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds
Wow.
like our
Rod,
Well, you
Tottenham
can't.
supporter
Also,
over there.
Just want to say, great badge too. One of the top badges in the league as well.
Easily.
also their kit.
Like
Their kits every year are
Kits are
fire.
fire.
kits are pretty fire, but I think just their badge takes the cake for me. I think having the combo of plants and the animal, like they got the flowers and the fox, pretty sweet.
Yeah. Moving over to our last team in the Midlands, we have Norwich, and I'm not going to give Norwich too much time here just because you'll find out, but they are called Canaries, and that's what they are. A bunch of little birdies. They've got a few very young but very talented players, most notably Todd Cantwell and Max Aarons, adding Billy Gilmore from Chelsea on loan this summer as well. All very exciting players, very fun to watch. So yeah, I mean, the reason I alluded to just a second ago is that they have been relegated 5 times, which is the most in the league, most recently in 2019. While they struggle to stay up in the Premier League, they do play attractive football with Daniel Farke at the helm. And I really do hope they can find a way to keep Cantwell's luscious locks in the Prem. If you want to follow the championship, Norwich are absolutely your side. Pretty much guaranteed to live in the in-between between the top league and the second league for the rest of time. But in terms of this year, I'm backing them. I hope they can stay up. I want Norwich.
Todd Cantwell, easily
Billy
the
Gilmore.
best hair in the Prem.
Exactly.
Timo Pukki, easily the best hair in the Prem.
Fabian Delph, excuse me.
Todd ought to
Honestly,
lend Pookie some of what he's got. It's pretty selfish of him.
I know. Honestly, though, hey, that's also they have some top tier names in the Prem as well. Just want to say Timo Pukki, great name.
Tim Krul, let's go.
Is it time to hit the city boys, the bright lights?
I believe
Mhm.
so. Brentford starting off. The bees all Gabe, you actually made me think of this. When I was looking into Brentford today, they have a pretty solid badge too. The bees.
Yeah.
Newly promoted squad to the Prem. Now famous for blanking Arsenal 2-0 on their first match day in England's top division since basically World War II. Sorry, Loic, I had to do that. Brentford toiled all the way down in League Two, which is the fourth division, as recently as 2007, before they made a major change in club operations with new ownership. Basically, their transfer policy is Moneyball. They find cheap, very undervalued talents or guys that aren't getting any play time through the use of some wild mathematical and statistical modeling, but it works. Those talents then develop on the cheap in their B team. They move up to the first team. They sell them to large clubs for a nice profit, wash, rinse, repeat. But their owner also owns a club in Denmark, which I thought was interesting. So Brentford is a bit of Denmark FC with their manager and about half a dozen of their first team players being from Denmark or at least Scandinavia. So Brentford probably won't make a ton of noise this year, but this is probably the most significant spell in their club's history. So could be a pretty exciting time to become a fan.
100%. So it's so interesting hearing about clubs who like kind of run like Moneyball. I heard that the other day. Just always, I feel like internally, I'm always it's always so questionable to me. But if you can do it right, then props to
doubt.
you.
No doubt.
Look at Dortmund.
Yeah.
I'd say look at Everton strategy. It's called no money ball.
Big brain.
Huh?
Filthy ball. Oh.
Oh,
We're gonna
Yikes.
move to another London club. Brentford is the
Yes.
first club in London we're talking about. The second is going to be the northernmost club in London right now, and that is Watford FC. Watford's an extremely old club, dating around 150 years ago is when it was formed. Most of their recent history, though, they've been bouncing up and down in the top flight. And if you want a detailed explanation on, what's Watford about, their mascot is a hornet, but their badge is a deer, and their goalkeeper is a YouTuber. So I hope that makes sense to you. It should all be adding up at this point.
crystal clear.
Watford can kind of be all over the place sometimes. They don't have any real major trophies to their name in the top flight, but they do have arguably the most spectacular moment in football history, scored by their very own club legend, Troy Deeney. Deeney just recently left the club, actually, this transfer window to go to Birmingham City. But a couple of years ago, back in 2013, scored a miraculous last-second counterattack to send Watford to the Premier League playoff final. A moment that will be remembered forever. If you ever need to look this up, or for some reason you haven't seen it, go watch it now. Just look up Troy Deeney goal. It's literally that easy, and it's everywhere. It's one of the most amazing things you'll ever see. So whether you're living through the half-baked nostalgia of Troy Deeney, or you want just a really authentic Premier League roller coaster, Watford's definitely a good place to look. Also, shout out the cycling GK Ben Foster. That's my boy.
Troy Deeney.
That
Well,
goal does get me fired up, though. I'm not gonna lie. I
every
watch it
time.
every once in a while. I watch it just to like get goosebumps, just to
Yeah.
feel something.
I
Just actually just to feel something. You good, bro?
Yeah, bro, I'm fine.
Troy Deeney's.
Well, you guys are messing around with the bugs and the insects over there. I'm here to talk about some meat. Okay. Uh, I was really excited to talk about West Ham for a number of reasons. For starters, they're probably the meatiest team in the league. Not only do they have multiple meaty men of the week award winners in the squad like Mikel Antonio and Thomas Suchek, as well as a plethora of other very meaty men like Mark Noble, Declan Rice, and Kurt Zuma. Their name is literally a directional meat. They are meat. And while ham is a meat of of off
A directional
The
meat.
directional meat is too good.
well, you're guys gonna hate this one. My brother actually came up with this one. You say now you see where I get it from.
Baloney.
And while ham is a meat of often questioned integrity, this club is no baloney. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, see,
Well
Two
done.
out of 10.
you see where I get it from. You see where I get it from. Being one of only 8 teams to never fall below the second division of English football. In that time, they've won 3 FA Cups, competed in 2 European finals, proudly served as the club of 3 members of the 66 World Cup winning team, including Captain Sir Bobby Moore, and laid claim to one of the oldest and most hallowed football sites in the world at Upton Park, where some of the most passionate fans anywhere supported the Irons for over a century. The story in East London turned a bit sour about 5 years ago when the club said goodbye to Upton Park and a uniquely intimate football setting and opened up London Stadium, a uniquely round, distant, and completely boring pitch to host a squad that matched its surroundings. However, aside from the stadium, I can really only say positive things about West Ham. Their claret and blue kits, similar to Villa's, are some of the most beautiful in the league, with stunning retro sponsors like Doc Martens to match, and their play style and recruitment has become organized and exciting under the experienced leadership of David Moyes. Finally, West Ham hold one of the greatest traditions in the entire Prem with their affinity for bubbles. If you catch a West Ham match on TV, you'll see an ocean of bubbles stream onto the pitch at kickoff and after each goal as fans sing their anthem. These floating bubbles perfectly encapsulate the club's current state, countless beautiful, precious moments suspended in air for what seems like an eternity, united, hanging on the edge, either to float into glory or to pop without notice. Come on, you irons. Up the hammers, I suppose.
Up the meat.
West Ham's definitely that club that I would support if I could redo it all.
They're
sure.
so exciting this year. I love them.
Yeah.
They're gonna be fun.
Yeah, that
Well-
that whole team, really, really good stuff going on.
Sweet. Well, we'll head on down to southern portion of the city and check out Crystal Palace. Believe it or not, I mean, people in England probably know this, but I didn't actually know that they're called Crystal Palace because there was a Crystal Palace in that part of London that burned down a long time ago. But I think if you are someone who really appreciates history and little gems of beauty, Palace might be your club. Not only because of that history, but because of some of their players. This year, we get to continue to watch the wonderful Wilf Zaha, a flashy player with arguably the best tattoos in the Prem, this dope star tattoo on his neck. If you like stars, you're going to like Wilf. And Eberechi Eze, who I believe is maybe the silkiest dribbler in the Prem right now in terms of just silk. Just the way he dribbles is just pure silk. But I do think you should support Palace if you're someone who supports more dogged teams. They're always kind of grinding out results in unique ways and then kind of falling in that lower portion of the table and stunning some of the big clubs in the process. Also, I got to give a shout out to a former Palace star now playing with Man U, Spider, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, the Spider-Man. Arguably, in my opinion, the best 1v1 defender in the league. So just know that if you watch him and can appreciate his class, it comes from this club. And even if you don't choose to support Palace going forward, they're a club to really keep an eye out on. Newly appointed manager Patrick Vieira is a Premier League legend captaining the Invincibles. on their historic run with Arsenal. And their signings this summer are really exciting. So look out for Hudson Edouard, French 21-year-old, played for Celtic last year, scored over 20 goals. And Michael Olise, another 19-year-old French star coming from the Championship. Some really, really exciting players coming out of that club. And their mascot's an eagle. So, like, if you're American, you kind of have to support them.
If you want to learn more about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I highly implore you to conduct a quick Google search and find out more about his personal life. It's quite fascinating.
Okay.
All right.
Dude,
Shout out
he's
to
the
Spider,
homie.
as always.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we're gonna delve into half of the famous North London derby. Nico's not gonna love some of these jokes, but we're gonna tell them anyways, okay? Because we're for the people here at the Meat Pies podcast. Tottenham is kind of the perfect club for a lot of neutrals that at least I know in my life, and not of people that are semi-neutral kind of just sway towards Tottenham. I think a lot of people kind of want a big club they can support, and also they want to be able to fully disassociate from the impending failure they're going to experience through Tottenham. They're usually called Spurs. You hear us call them Spurs a lot. It's in reference to their mascot, the Hotspur. Pretty good badge now that we're talking about badges. And they're part of the quote unquote big six teams in England. And while they won't always be the highest achieving team, they will certainly give some thrilling moments and enough despair to keep you addicted. Tottenham, unfortunately, has 0 major trophies in the last 30 years, which they're experiencing a minor drought, some would say. I would say ego death. Their top player, Harry Kane, or Harold Kane, MBE, has a big old egg in that category as well for his whole career. That's kind of the reason he's trying to leave, because he wants to actually do something with his life. So despite being clinical underachievers, Tottenham have some incredible club legends. Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, Robbie Keane, Harry Kane, probably soon to be Son Heung-min, maybe the most likable guy in the Prem if you're not Gabe Adler.
Break his
Barcelona
leg.
fan.
If you're a leg breaker, that is. Yeah, but Gabe still likes Richarlison and Pickford. But I digress.
Anyways.
Based on complete guesswork on my part, Tottenham boasts one of the largest Prem followings in the States. So if you choose to support them, you're making a good choice, and you'll be part of a large, half-assed supporting army.
Coys.
Whose leg did
Coys.
Pickford break?
Yamada.
As a very loyal Spurs fan, I can't say that it's certainly a roller coaster. So if you come in, be ready. Moving to the bitter rivals that are in the other part of North London, I guess. Another club with a ton of history, Arsenal, also known as the Gunners, the Gooners, the Gun Show, as I like to call them. They've won the third most Premier League titles with 13. So good job, guys. They have some of the most passionate fans in the land, and quite a few of them too, carrying one of the largest fan kingdoms in the world. Arsenal Television, Arsenal TV is, a good enough reason to support the club. They are quite the entertainment group. And as these fans may attest, their beloved club is quite a frustrating one, causing many gray hairs, shattered beer bottles, and concussions, maybe. I'm starting to wonder if Arsenal may be the cause for Luik's concussion.
Definitely aggravated it 1000%.
At least delaying the recovery a little bit. But they used to play some of the prettiest football in the Prem for quite a stretch under manager Arsene Wenger, slicing up defenses against their will, putting them in their graves and setting up the easiest of tap-ins for the finisher. In their heyday, all the way back in 2003, Arsenal enjoyed the only undefeated Premier League campaign ever with 26 wins and 12 draws. Quite impressive. And after 22 years, Arsenal was relieved of his duties in 2018. And since then, the club has been facing somewhat of an identity crisis, to put lightly. Despite trying so hard, new manager Mikel Arteta simply cannot get it right, trying to right the ship that's been sailing sideways on a choppy ocean for the last several years. I think I always did think it was funny that their manager, that Arsenal's manager's name was Arson. But anyways, they share, as I said, North London with their bitter rivals, Tottenham, but have historically had the edge over Spurs with 78 total victories in the NLD compared to Spurs 60. Arsenal have always been the bigger club, but some say the tides are turning, with Spurs enjoying a recent spell of success over the Gooners. And they were unable to qualify for their new favorite competition, the Europa Conference League last year, finishing 8th in the Premier League. Jokes aside, their actual favorite competition is the FA Cup, hoisting more titles than any other club with 14. Even if Arsenal finished 10th in the Prem, you can pencil them into the FA Cup final. Currently sitting at stone cold last in the Premiership, Arsenal have become the best meme generators for Twitter since Donald Trump. But since Luik's concussed, we can't enjoy any of them.
I didn't know Arsenal
nice.
was last.
Wait, how'd that happen?
I thought you were
Just ask ESPN FC. They'll tell you several times.
ESPN FC, just saying, if you're listening, you're fucked. You're fucked. We're coming. We're coming for
your
meat.
neck.
We're coming for you.
Well, we'll head on over to another, I guess another London derby rival of both Spurs and Arsenal, Chelsea. And I think we all in this group have some serious mixed feelings about the Blues. Just definitely hate them, but can't stop watching them, I guess. A little bittersweet approach. But they're definitely a club with a storied history, boasting some of the greatest Prem legends, one by the name of Didier Drogba. In my opinion, behind Thierry Henry, hold on. I'm not going to make any of these claims. Top 5 striker to ever grace the Prem. Frank Lampard, who recently coached the squad to a disappointing start to the season before his sacking, only to bring in a German tactician and someone who looks like he's straight out of a Wes Anderson movie, Thomas Tuchel, who has really flipped the club around from their mid-season dip of form last year and got them into the top 4 and won them the Champions League. But it's pretty easy to do so when you are being backed by oil and Israeli settlement daddy Roman Abramovich with deep pockets. Last summer they spent, I believe, somewhere in the range of 200 million. This summer obviously did some good business selling some people and brought in our main man Rom Lukaku. But all of that aside, I think watching Chelsea is a pleasure. And I think I will be mad if you support them, but if you support them for N'Golo Kante, who I believe should win Ballon d'Or and is the cutest footballer in the world, then I have a little bit of respect for you.
Chelsea do have some pretty likable players. As much
they
as
have a lot of
we
likable
hate,
players.
Just how stacked they are, basically.
Dude, they have maybe 2 likable players.
What do you mean? Okay, actually, we'll argue.
Okay, three.
You're an American. If you're an American, I know that people in this pod are split on how likable Captain America, Christian Pulisic, is, but Americans love, Americans. There's a lot of reason to love him. Big Rom, Big Rom. Conte, gotta love Conte.
Mount.
Just kidding. There's more. Thiago Silva, GOAT.
Cho.
Joe.
Right. Should we
I wish
head?
Cho went on loan to Dortmund. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, that would have been great.
That would be cool.
Should we head on down to the south?
The South.
The south.
Oh yeah, you know I'm always down to go to the south.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So what?
Southampton, aptly named. The Saints are a top flight. I just realized it's the Saints.
Mhm.
It's that there's a little parallel there, I guess. To
Yeah,
the
they're
US.
also eating gumbo and jambalaya in Southampton.
Yeah, a food culture center of England for sure. So the Saints have been in England's highest division for all but 7 seasons since 1977, which I thought was kind of surprising. They're not considered a big club by any means, but they have a long history, tons of identifiable players. They're best known for their absolutely legendary youth academy that has produced many stars such as Gareth Bale, Luke Shaw, James Ward-Prowse, Theo Walcott, among others. They're also known, kind of like a lot of middling clubs that we've mentioned, for identifying talent at a young age and then selling them later for huge profits. Like I said, Gareth Bale is one of those, Virgil van Dijk, Sadio Mane, some of the Premier League's biggest stars came through Southampton at one point. So they've looked pretty uninspiring so far this season. So if you like getting attached to a big star up and coming and then having your heart ripped out when you sell him for 70 mil to a bigger club, Southampton's the club for you. And that's kind of the story of them.
Very nice. Very nice.
Huge.
Something's in the water down there, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, last but not least,
Bring us home.
we have our goals, the Seagulls, Brighton and Hove Albion, in the city of Brighton, known as, I guess, the beach destination for Londoners. And I think that's very fitting, considering if you watch Brighton, you are probably just gonna vibe. Brighton plays some really,
It's
really
actually-
nice footy. It is true, right?
It's
Like you watch
facts,
them and you're
yeah.
like, okay, this
No
is some
goals,
pretty
just
footy.
vibes.
Brighton's exciting. They are known to us as the expected goals kings, oftentimes rendering 20, I think frequently actually, rendering 20 or more shots per game and converting maybe one. I like that, Nico. Expected goals. And, Brighton also boasts arguably my favorite kit in the league. Just a clean blue and white vertical stripe, Amex sponsored, seagull in the corner, collared kit. So if you like classy, you like the beach, Brighton's going to be the club for you. Last but not least, I got to give a little shout to my favorite player in the Prem right now, and their best star, Yves Bissouma. If you like watching an exciting player, really world-class, playing for a club that probably shouldn't be playing for, Brighton's your team.
Oh, you were gonna say Neil Mopay.
Neil Mopay, honestly, I have so much respect for Neil Mopay as an Arsenal supporter because
Right.
I do, because I hate Matteo Guendouzi. So there you go.
Dude, Guendouzi's looking like he's being justified right now. That's all I'm gonna
We
say.
don't need to talk about Guendouzi.
Indication.
Guendouzi can
Alright.
do his thing. He can do his thing. I
Can we
hope I don't see him
Can we
again.
make that trend on Twitter? Vindication for Guendouzi.
Freaking
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Justice for the Guendouzis.
Guendouzi. What a name.
Well, speaking of a doozy, this has been quite the show,
What is it?
boys. Yeah, I actually been trying to convince my brother to be a Brighton supporter. Hasn't really been going so well, but he also quite likes the kits. And I appreciate them too. Well, I guess before we wrap things up here, I quickly want to note. So I landed in Dublin yesterday, and my brother and I didn't really have anything planned. Just so happened that the women's Gaelic football championship was happening yesterday, and it was quite the event. Paid like £25 a piece for tickets. But I just sort of wanted to mention this because we also had a kickoff to WSL season this past weekend. A couple of good matches, but one especially cracking match between two incredible teams. And that would be Arsenal and Chelsea's women's squads are absolutely stacked right now. But not only are they stacked, they play some amazing footy. They have some amazing continuity. They give everything for their clubs, and I think I realized that I was looking around. The stadium was like packed for this Gaelic football match. No men's games going on, just the women's games. And I was like, why is there so much popularity here for this sport? For the women's version of the sport, when the men have a version as well, also very popular. Tons of guys to the match, tons of little girls dressed up in kits. Like everyone is supporting this thing, and they put an amazing product out on the field, and I think it's a really great approach for all the women's sports growing out there. I think WSL is doing an awesome job of this, and I think Chelsea and Arsenal are two clubs that have taken a really cool community approach, have invested a lot in their women's teams. There's been a lot invested in women's Gaelic football here, I've found, and I'm just excited for the future of women's footy in the Prem. It was a cracking 3-2 match between two of the best teams in the world, international teams. Vivian Miedema, mentioned her in the past, had a goal for Arsenal yesterday, kick things off. And then Beth Maid had a brace. These are all international stars, so really cool to see. The Gaelic football event was awesome, but just sort of translating to women's footy in the Prem, I definitely hope to see it keep on growing. A lot of really big stars out there to be spotlighted. But that's sort of all I got. I just thought I'd be remiss not to mention the start of the women's season, because I think it's going to be a really cracking one. Except for Everton, because we got smacked by City like we always do. So nothing really very different between the men's and the women's game. Yeah. Anyways. Damn it.
One say that was perhaps the final meaty bite.
It's of sorts. I don't want to claim the final meaty bite because I definitely didn't deserve it. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout. And I think that's all we got for sort of a special version of the Meat Pies podcast today. Bit of a longer version. Maybe listen to it in a couple of parts. But thanks. I guess if you're at this point, you listened to it however you did to the end of it right now. Thanks for listening. Hope you liked what you heard. Please subscribe, follow wherever you listen. Feel free to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Make sure it's a good one, or else I'll send Big Dunk out to find you. You can find Meat Pies Podcast just about anywhere you get your podcasts. New episodes like this one being released every Tuesday. So stay on the lookout. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Meat Pies Pod. Enjoy the rest of your week and up the pies.
Up the pies, baby.
Pies.